All right, so we're doing something a little different today. We're going deep, really deep into, well, what Canadians are thinking, eh?
Yeah, kind of like taking the temperature of the nation, right?
Yak. And our thermometer, a big old stack of letters to the editor from the Toronto Sun.
Oh, that's gonna be good. Those are always lively.
Lively is one word for it.
Ooh, dear.
We've got everything from Trump's buy Canada shenanigans to worries about the economy and even dopamine addiction.
Sounds like a wild ride.
So buckle up, listener. Let's start with well, Doug Radke. He's fired up about Trump's Buy Canada comments, calls it straight up bullying.
Yeah, and he doesn't think it'll fly either. Radke's basically saying Canadians would resist any kind of, well, takeover attempt, and he makes a good point about international pressure, too.
Like the world wouldn't just stand by and watch,
Right.
right? But then he brings up guns, says Canada doesn't have the same firepower as the U.S., which kind of begs the question, how does a country like Canada, stand up for itself on the world stage, especially when dealing with, well, a superpower?
It's a good question. Canada's always relied more on diplomacy and, working together with other countries, finding common ground, that sort of thing. Whether that's enough these days, well, that's a whole other debate.
Speaking of debates, let's talk about the economy. We've got Brian Lilly going after Deputy Prime Minister Chrystia Freeland's fiscal policies.
He's worried about whether all that spending is actually making things better for Canadians. Like, are we seeing better services, better quality of life?
A lot of people are asking that, especially with prices going up everywhere. But then there's Larry Kasdan, who says we're falling for the household fallacy when it comes to government spending.
A household fallacy.
Yeah, it's the idea that the government should manage its money like a family budget. Kasdan says that doesn't really apply because, well, Canada controls its own currency. It can literally print more money.
Monetary sovereignty.
Exactly. So Kazan's saying the government has more flexibility than a regular household when it comes to spending.
And he even calls too much fiscal restraint economic anorexia,
Hmm.
which is,
A bit dramatic.
yeah, but it does make you think about the potential downsides of just focusing on balancing the budget without looking at the bigger picture.
Like, what if cutting spending leads to job losses or hurts people who need help, right?
Right. So it's a balancing act for sure. Lily's concerns about accountability are valid, but Kazdan also has a point about the government's unique position.
Okay, so we've got international politics, economic anxieties.
Huh.
Ready for something completely different.
Hit me.
Dan McGillivray's letter. He's got some interesting thoughts about dopamine and addiction.
Dopamine.
Yeah, the feel-good chemical in our brains. McGilvray is saying the government is basically fueling a dopamine addiction through things like casinos and lotteries.
Interesting. So he's saying that easy access to these things, often with the government's blessing, might be exploiting our natural desire for, well, pleasure and reward.
It does make you wonder where the line is between providing entertainment and, well, almost taking advantage of people's cravings.
It's a tough question. Where does the government's responsibility end and individual choice begin?
Exactly. Food for thought, for sure.
So we've got a lot to unpack here, from Trump's antics and the economy to, well, dopamine and the ethics of gambling.
Yeah, a real roller coaster of Canadian anxieties. Amazing what people are thinking about.
Yeah.
And it reminds us that there's no one Canadian opinion.
Every letter is a different perspective, a different lens on the world, and it's just a starting point, really.
It's your turn now, listener. What resonated with you? What got you fired up or maybe scratching your head?
Go do some digging, read those letters, and see what you think.
Because at the end of the day, a healthy democracy depends on informed and engaged citizens. So get out there and be part of the conversation.